everyone. Welcome to Live Interactive English. I am Karen.
And I'm Mike. And welcome to our story time for this month. For you guys, we have a two-part story all about, the bet.
Ooh, I like the sound of that.
I don't like the sound of that. I'm keeping my money in my pocket. I'm not going to bet on anything.
Really? Are you that type of person?
I always lose.
Do you really? But maybe you will win. It's maybe like it's 50-50, right? How about let's make a bet?
Okay, what do you want to bet on?
Okay, let me think. Maybe let's bet on the weather.
Okay.
Okay, well, it's January right now,
It is.
and Chinese New Year is around the corner.
That's true.
So how about let's bet on the weather on Chinese New Year, on Chinese New Year Day.
Okay.
So I bet you that it's going to rain on Chinese New Year's Day.
All right, I will take that bet. And when I take that bet, I am agreeing to that bet. We will shake hands. And I'm personally involved in this because I actually have plans to go somewhere on Chinese New Year Day.
Really?
So I really hope it doesn't rain because that will ruin my plans.
Okay, but here comes the best part.
Oh, yeah.
So if I win, let's talk about if you win.
That's right.
If you win, I will give you 2,000 NT dollars. Wow.
Wow, that's pretty good.
But wait a second. If I win, then you have to give me 2,000 US dollars.
What? 2,000 US dollars?
Yeah.
That's a lot more than 2,000 NT dollars.
Well, you already agreed to the bet, right?
Well, I guess I did, but I didn't know the stakes. I didn't know what I could win or lose.
Well, don't
if I won
worry.
or...
Don't worry about it. You might win. Who knows, right?
I
think you're gonna win.
I think I should have waited to make this bet until after we read our story called The Bet.
That's right.
Because it might give me some good advice that I just didn't follow.
It's a little bit too late now.
Let's check it out and I'll go to the bank and see how much money I have.
2,000 US.
On a dark autumn night, an old banker walked around his study, troubled by a bet that he had made with a young lawyer 15 years ago. The bet took place at a party where they discussed the topic of capital punishment versus life imprisonment. The banker firmly believed that capital punishment was better and claimed that a lifetime in prison was equal to a slow and painful death.
All right, so yes, the title of our story is The Bet, and hopefully the person in the story wins their bet. I have a feeling I might lose my bet, but we're using this word a lot. So what exactly is a bet?
Well, a bet, basically, that's a noun, and it's usually like an agreement between people who are trying to guess something that might happen, and then one person will guess one thing, the other person will guess the other, and whoever wins will take something from the person who loses.
Exactly.
So, for example, like the bet that we made, if I win, then you have to give me 2,000 US, and if you win, I need to give you 2,000 NT dollars, right?
Yeah, that's a bad bet. Of course, people often bet on things like sports games, who's going to win, things like that. But that's a good bit of advice. Never bet more than you are happy to lose.
Exactly.
Because you might lose it all. Another word we could use is very similar, wager, right? A wager, a bet, they're the same kind of thing. And I bet you have a sentence for us.
I do.
I win this bet.
The example sentence for bet is, Jimmy lost a bet and had to dance in front of the whole class. So in this case, you don't necessarily have to give someone something, but you have to do something. And that is dancing in front of the whole class.
So could I trade my 2,000 US dollars for a dance?
In your dream.
No. All right, let's get to the article and see what's going on with this bet. Well, it starts like a great story with a great sentence. On a dark autumn night, an old banker walked around his study, troubled by a bet that he had made with a young lawyer 15 years ago.
15 years ago?
He still remembers that bet. It must have been very important. So here we go. It's a dark autumn night. We can imagine maybe there's wind blowing and rain falling outside. And there's this lawyer who clearly has something on his mind, something he's been thinking of.
A banker, right?
Oh, sorry, a banker. Something he's been thinking about for 15 years. I wonder what that could be.
I don't know, but I guess he's thinking about the bet that he made with a young lawyer.
Yeah, what was the bet? What's that all about?
Okay, well, let's learn about it. The bet took place at a party where they discussed the topic of capital punishment versus life imprisonment. The banker firmly believed that the capital punishment was better and claimed that a lifetime in prison was equal to a slow and painful death. So before we go any further, so let's talk about what they were betting about. So number one, they were talking about capital punishment. What is capital punishment?
Capital punishment is when you do a very, very bad crime, something like murder or spying for another country to hurt your home country. You get caught, and instead of sending you to jail, they kill you at some point in some way. In America, they might poison you or give you drugs so that your heart stops. In other countries, they might shoot or hang you. This is the kind of thing that only happens to the worst criminals and only in a few countries and only in a few situations. But I guess this banker is kind of saying, well, if it was me, if I was in trouble, if I, had killed someone, I would say that capital punishment, being killed, would be better than living in jail for 40 or 50 years or something like that.
That's right, and that's life imprisonment. Like you have to stay in jail or be in prison for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah, and if you're a young person who gets caught for a crime, your lifetime could be 40, 50, 60, 70 years, who knows?
That's true.
Because a lifetime is just the period that you live, the length of your life. All right, if you lived to 90 years, you had a lifetime of 90 years. We don't usually talk about it with numbers so much. We just say, in my lifetime, in other words, in the period when I'm alive on the earth, I would like to travel here, learn how to cook, speak Japanese, win the lottery, win a bet with my coworker. This is something I want to do while I'm alive at some time during my life. For example, Martha has visited over 50 countries in her lifetime. She might have started really young traveling with her kids. She might travel even now today. Or maybe there was a period in her life when she did all her traveling. But during her life, she's been to 50 countries. I bet you've never been to that many countries. No. I win another bet. It's time for our break.
But you don't get anything from your bet, though.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这一次要读的故事是 The Bet， 打赌。那么 bet 当名词就有赌注的意思。我们说 make a bet with somebody 表示跟某人打赌。Mike 老师刚刚则提到 wager。wager 当名词也可以用来指赌注，意思跟 bet 差不多。好，那故事一开始呢，有一名年老的银行家，他在为15年前打的赌所困扰。当时赌注呢是发生在一场派对上。他就跟一位年轻律师讨论了死刑和无期徒刑相比的话题。那么银行家坚信说死刑比较好，认为一辈子在监狱里面等于是缓慢痛苦的死去。好，文中他用到 capital punishment 是指死刑，那么 imprisonment这个名词表示监禁啊、关押或是坐牢。那中间他用到这个 versus， 它是表达跟什么相对、跟什么相比。我们常看到它的缩写，它可以写作 vs 一点，这样子就是 versus。好，下一个单字 lifetime， 它是名词，表示一生或是一辈子。那这边一个重点，我们要进入文法时间。好，我们来看这个重点是 where 当关系副词的时候，可以引导关系子句去修饰跟地点或场合相关的先行词。当先行词是不明确的地点场合时，我们要用限定用法，就是去限定它的范围。那么 where 的前面不加逗号。例如 This is the house where my grandparents used to live。这是我爷爷奶奶以前住的房子。那先行词 the house 它本来是个不明确的地点，我们不知道是哪一间房子，那后面就紧接着关系子句去限定它的范围，说明是我爷爷奶奶以前住的房子。那么 where 的前面就不加逗号咯。这一话课文中。
The lawyer disagreed, saying that any life is better than none. An argument started between the two, only ending when the rich banker offered 2 million rubles if the lawyer could survive a 5-year imprisonment. The lawyer accepted, but volunteered to be locked up for 15 years. If he gave up at any time before the agreed term, he would lose the bet and receive no money. With the conditions in place, the lawyer was imprisoned in a small house on the banker's property, where he was denied almost all contact with the outside world. He had only a small window through which he could pass notes to ask for things like books, music, and wine.
Welcome back, everyone. So we are talking about the story, The Bet, right?
That's right. So these two people talking at a party are looking like they're going to make a little friendly bet. That's true. Not all bets have to be in a casino playing cards or something. You can bet with your friends while watching a baseball game on TV. We might call that a friendly bet. Right?
That's
Not
true.
much money, just kind of a fun thing to do with your friends. And if you lose, no big deal. So this might be what they're talking about. And now the other person the banker was talking to about this idea, well, the lawyer disagreed, saying that any life is better than none. So the lawyer is saying, I wouldn't want to be killed if I was a murderer, because even living for 1 or 2 more years in jail is better than dying, or something like that. That's another way of looking at it. Well, this disagreement kind of grew, and then we see an argument started between the two, only ending when the rich banker offered 2 million rubles if the lawyer could survive a 5-year imprisonment. This is a serious bet.
5-year imprisonment.
This is not what I would call a friendly bet.
2 million rubles. What's 2 million rubles?
A lot of money.
A lot,
I hope
a lot of money.
Because basically the banker is saying, oh, really? You think that's true? Well, I bet if you stay in for 5 years in jail, you won't be happy. You will leave jail before that.
That's really serious.
It's pretty serious, but it's a good way to maybe prove the point.
I guess you're right. Okay, let's read on and find out what happens next. The lawyer accepted but volunteered to be locked up for 15 years. 15.
That's 10 more than originally.
He volunteered to be locked up for 15 years.
What's he doing?
Is crazy.
What's he thinking?
I don't understand what he's thinking about. If he gave up at any time before the agreed term, he would lose the bet and receive no money. That is insane. Before, the banker was only saying, okay, well, you can be locked up for 5 years, but he said, no, I'll take 15 years.
That is a little bit crazy, but he must be super, super confident. This would be like me saying, oh, my basketball team won't beat yours by 5 points, we'll beat you by 50 points. And you might go, really? Okay, but I'm apparently very confident.
I guess you're
in
right.
What my basketball team will do. I'm probably wrong. But anyways, yeah, he volunteered to be locked up for 15 years. Now here we're using lock as a verb. We can also use it as a noun. What is a lock? It's that thing we put on doors and other places that we need a key to open. The lock will be closed and will not be able to be opened without that key. So when you use a lock, you lock, and we often use up. Lock something up or lock up something, or you can just lock the door. When you're using your key as you leave home, you are locking the door. And of course, the opposite of the verb would be to unlock. One word, U-N-L-O-C-K, that's to open with a key. So he will be locked up for 15 years, and if he leaves, if he quits, if he cancels the bet, he won't win any money. All right, well, what he did was truly terrible. This is the example sentence we have for lock. What he did was truly terrible. They should lock him up and throw away the key. This is an expression we would use to say that person should be put in jail and never let out, never given freedom.
Throw away the key.
It's almost like we're just going to throw away the key because we'll never open that door. But of course, they have to open the door sometimes, but not let the person out of jail. So there you go. There's the bet. The banker seems quite confident he can win the bet. The lawyer seems quite confident he can live with all of that time in jail. We'll see what happens. It says, with the conditions in place, or with the bet agreed on, the lawyer was imprisoned in a small house on the banker's property where he was denied almost all contact with the outside world. Wow. So this wasn't done in a jail. Of course, because that would be, you couldn't really just volunteer to go to jail. So they found a place on the banker's property, and that is where the lawyer said, okay, I'll pretend this will be my jail, but you really will lock the door, and I really will not be able to leave.
But I guess it's not that bad if he's not like in a real prison, not in a real jail, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's better than the jail, right? Because he's locked up in his property. So property is our next vocabulary word, and that is a noun. So when you say the property of somebody, that means that person owns it. It could be like a thing or a place. It could be your house. That's also a property. But we're talking about a house or a place that he's staying at. So we're talking about place here. So for example, if you enter private property against the owner's wishes, you may be charged with a crime. That's true.
Yeah.
You need their permission in order to go in somebody's property.
That's true. The crime would be trespassing.
Okay, well, let's continue. He had only a small window through which he could pass notes to ask for things like books, music, and wine. Okay, so he can still ask for books, music, and wine. What do you think? Do you think that's okay?
Well, that's okay. It's better than just being given bread and water like many prisoners might, but still, I think it's not being able to be with other people. That's one of the hardest things if you're in prison. You have all the things to keep yourself busy, but you don't have anyone to talk to or touch or play with or be with. And that can be tough. Well, we're going to find out what happens with the bet, with the banker, with the lawyer, with this whole kind of crazy situation tomorrow. And you know what? I bet most of them will be back.
Do you think so?
Because they want to know the ending, just like we do.
That's true.
All right, we'll see you
guys
then.
next time.
下赌注不见得是在赌场里面，也有可能是在其他地方，只是跟人家打个赌。Mike 老师则提到 casino 这个字 ，C-A-S-I-N-O， casino 就表示赌场。好，那刚刚说银行家坚信死刑比无期徒刑好，可是律师不认同，那这两个人就开始争论了。后来银行家就提出，要是律师可以挺过5年的监禁，他就出价200万卢布。那律师接受了，可是律师他自愿被关15年诶，如果他在约定期限到期之前放弃，他就算输了，不会收到1毛钱。Karen 老师听到律师自动加码，把5年变15年，老师用到 insane 这个形容词 ，I-N-S-A-N-E insane 可以形容是疯狂的，也可以形容是精神失常的。好，那这个约定的条件确定之后呢，律师就被关在银行家地产的一间小屋里面，在那里啊，他几乎被断绝跟外面世界的所有联系，就只有透过一扇小窗，然后可以传递纸条来要求他要的书籍啊、音乐还有葡萄酒之类的东西。这听起来很像这个居家隔离，对不对？可是同学们能够接受居家隔离15年吗？好，我们来看看单字 lock。它当动词表示锁住、锁上。Lock somebody up 就是把某人关起来。那如果在 lock 前面加上否定字首 un，unlock 就可以表达开锁、解锁或是打开咯。好，再看到 property 这个名词表示房产、地产或者是表达资产、财产。例句提到说，违背屋主的意愿进入私人地产，你可能会被控有罪。这时候 Mike 老师他用到 trespass 这个动词 T-R-E-S-P-A-S-S， 那它可以表达擅自进入啊、侵入，像是侵入他人土地或建筑物之类的。这边3个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 if 引导条件句的用法。if 引导条件副词子句，表示可能发生的情况。那这时候句型是 if 主词加动词，逗号，主词加上 will、can 或是 may， 再加原形动词。像 if it rains tomorrow, we will go to the movies instead. 如果明天下雨，我们将会改去看电影。那要特别注意，我们课文里面它是用过去式来描述故事情节，所以他说这个 if he gave up he would lose the bet。这边 if 子句它是用过去式动词，然后主要子句则是使用过去式助动词 would 再加原形动词咯。好，下一个重点是 with 加受词加受词补语。那这样的句型呢，是用来表达附带状况或原因。受词补语可以用分词、形容词或者是介系词片语。好，如果你要用分词当受词补语的话，我们就来看受词跟受词补语的关系。关系是主动，就用现在分词 VING； 关系是被动，就用过去分词 PP。例如 We drove around with the windows open。我们让车窗开着，开车兜风。好，那同学们如果有经历过用手把摇下车窗的年代，你也可以造这样的句子哦。We drove around with the windows rolled down。我们把车窗摇下来，开车兜风。那车窗是被摇下来的，所以用 rolled。即使现在呢都用电动方式了，不能手摇了，可是还是蛮多人会用 roll down 来表达把车窗放下来。好，再下一个重点是介系词加上受格关系代名词的用法。受格关系代名词像 whom、which、that， 它们所引导的关系子句当中，如果有介系词的话，而且关系代名词又是这个介系词的受词，那这时候可以把介系词移到 which 或是 whom 的前面。那这时候关系代名词就不能省略咯，而且也不能用 that 来代换。举例来说，The city which Sally lives in， 或是 The city that Sally lives in， 或者是可以省略 The city Sally lives in is famous for its beautiful beaches。 Sally 住的城市以美丽的海滩闻名。那现在呢，如果我们把这个 lives in 后面这个 in 移到关系代名词的前面呢，会变成 The city in which Sally lives is famous for its beautiful beaches。 好，我们看到里面的 which 是不能省略的，而且不能用 that 来代换。好，以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
On a dark autumn night, an old banker walked around his study, troubled by a bet that he had made with a young lawyer 15 years ago. The bet took place at a party where they discussed the topic of capital punishment versus life imprisonment. The banker firmly believed that capital punishment was better and claimed that a lifetime in prison was equal to a slow and painful death. The lawyer disagreed, saying that any life is better than none. An argument started between the two, only ending when the rich banker offered 2 million rubles if the lawyer could survive a 5-year imprisonment. The lawyer accepted, but volunteered to be locked up for 15 years. If he gave up at any time before the agreed term, he would lose the bet and receive no money. With the conditions in place, the lawyer was imprisoned in a small house on the banker's property, where he was denied almost all contact with the outside world. He had only a small window through which he could pass notes to ask for things like books, music, and wine.
Xiziwan is a popular spot in Kaohsiung. There are many tourist attractions in Xiziwan. Hamasen Railway Culture Park has a large green grassland filled with rail tracks. It is good for families and friends to come and take pictures. The British consulate at Takao near National Sun Yat-sen University is a historic site. It was built over 100 years ago and is now a cafe and exhibition hall. Don't forget to try the extra large shaved ice when you visit Xiziwan. This big bowl of shaved ice will help you cool down during hot days. Be sure to enjoy the pretty sunset. Its view will impress you a lot.